Who Killed Markiplier is by far one of my favorite things that he's ever made. He really took a page out of Scott Cawthon's book, the creator of FNAF. I really loved writing this theory, but before we get to theorizing, let's take a look at the events of the story.
We have been invited to a poker night at Markiplier Manor, along with the Colonel, Damien the Mayor, and the Detective. We also meet the Manor Butler, Chef, and Markiplier, of course. After a heavy night of drinking, we wake up to the grave news that Mark has been murdered. The detective quickly assigns us as his new partner, and off we go to figure out what happened. After some conversation with the guests, we return to the scene of the crime to find that Mark's body is missing. Not much happens in Chapter 2. More intrigue, more investigation. After having a chat with the Colonel, it seems as if there's more to his past with Mark than he leads us to believe. An argument between the detective and the Colonel breaks loose and they wave their guns around. This is when Celine bursts through the front door. Celine informs us that she is well versed in the arcane arts, and that with our help, she can contact Mark in the beyond. After a session with Celine, we see a man with a hat and a shovel. Celine doesn't seem to like what we see and wants more information. The detective has other plans. He pulls us with him to find the man in the hat. After a quick talk to Chef, we find out that his name is George and that he is the groundskeeper. We make our way to George and he doesn't seem to care or know anything about the murder. However, he says that he will not go into the house unless a very specific event happens.
That is the reason!
We rush into the house to find Celine in some sort of vicious arcane state. We then help the groundskeeper shut her in. This is where things go haywire. George states that Celine and Damien are gone before taking his leave. Chef and the butler say that it's time to get out of the house and urge us to do the same. The Colonel, however, won't stand for this and rushes off furiously. We hear a whisper.
Hey. Help.
Celine seems to have somehow managed to contact us from the beyond, and is now leading us towards where the detective has been conducting his research. Once we arrive at the office, the Colonel greets us. When he sees all of the evidence that the detective has put together, he gets angry and blames him for the murder of all of his friends. The Colonel rushes off to find the detective. After a short argument with him, he fires a bullet, hitting the detective, who falls to the floor. We then try to take the gun from the Colonel, which ultimately leads us to getting shot and falling from the second floor. In the darkness, we see Mark's dead body and the spirit of Celine and Damien. They tell us that it was him all along and that he is now walking around in Damien's body. It is at this point that they propose to bring us back with the help of Damien's spirit and Celine's powers. We awaken to the Colonel, who says, "I didn't kill you," and comes to the conclusion that it was all a joke. He wanders off looking for the other guests in a mad haze. We pick up Damien's cane and look into the mirror to see Darkiplier.
What a journey, am I right? But we didn't really get any answers. All we got was vague clues. Who's Celine? Why is the Colonel mad at Mark? What part does Damien play in all of this? What's up with Darkiplier? Who killed Mark? Well, let's take a look at that, shall we?
Let's begin by connecting the dots of how the guests relate to one another. In the argument between the detective and the Colonel, the detective says,
"Madness is stealing your best friend's wife. Madness is squeezing him for cash to fund your own sick sexual exploits with that very woman." Shut up!
So it seems that the Colonel won the heart of Mark's wife and borrowed money from Mark while keeping him in the dark. This would explain why there's a grudge from both sides. In the office with all the clues, there are newspaper clippings referring to the mayor being a demon, the mayor being in cahoots with a famous actor, and the mayor getting into legal trouble. I believe this means that Mark and the mayor have some kind of dark past together. Maybe the mayor manipulated Mark into doing something that he didn't want to do. This leaves Mark angry with the mayor, while the mayor still considers Mark a friend. In Mark's bedroom there are 4 photographs. The first depicting Damien, Mark and the Colonel, the second depicting Damien, the Colonel, Mark and Celine, the third depicting Damien and Mark, and the fourth depicting only the Colonel. If we look at the second picture, we can see Mark and Celine looking a lot like a couple. If the Colonel and Celine later went off together, this would explain them missing in the third picture. The fourth picture of the Colonel alone could mean that Celine left him, leaving him alone without any friends. However, the Colonel and Damien still seem to have some sort of relationship.
Oh, what do you want from me, man? Well, I want you to care! You and the mayor know each other, right? He's a good man, that one. We've been fast friends for as long as I can remember.
So, where do we fit into all this? As we can see in our invitation, we are the district attorney and work closely with Damien, possibly not having any connection to Mark, but there as Damien's +1. Finally, the detective, the butler and chef. Close to the end of the first chapter, we see the little buddy's security feed, where we see the detective and Mark speaking about the chef and the butler 3 days before the incident. So Mark doesn't seem to have any issues with these three. If anything, he truly trusts the detective and was asking for his advice.
So in conclusion, Celine is Mark's ex-wife, who the Colonel stole while squeezing him for money to fund their affair. Mark and the mayor seem to have some sort of dark past, which leaves Mark angry with him. And the detective is just a close friend. But, the big question. Who killed Mark? Drum roll, please. Mark did. Wait, come on. Hear me out.
Silence!
Mark is angry at his friends. He is angry at the mayor for manipulating him and angry with the Colonel and Celine for their love affair. Mark knows that Damien is dangerous. He knows that he needs to stop him somehow. But he can't just kill Damien, he would be suspected. So instead he decides to orchestrate his own death. Since Mark used to be married to a seer, he knows some arcane arts and knows of ways of getting out of limbo. He plans to escape death by possessing Damien's body. In the scene where Damien is arguing with the Colonel, he says,
Oh, don't give me that horse shit. I know you hated him, but god damn it, he reached out to you. Oh, what do you want?
That is because Mark needed someone to take the blame for the murder. Seeing as there are newspaper clippings saying that there was a safari accident, the Colonel may have mistakenly shot someone before, making him an easy target. This is where the detective comes into play. Mark sees him as one of his closest friends and lets him in on his plan. The detective agrees and vets the butler and chef to see if they can be trusted to play a part in it all. So why are we there? We are probably there as a guest of Damien, seeing as we work together. Mark knew that we worked with Damien and wanted to make sure we weren't up to the same sketchy stuff as him. This is why he tells the detective to take us in as a partner to vet us. Damien saw Mark as a friend and is upset about his death. But I think he's also worried and wants to figure out why it all happened. This is when he asks Celine for help. He wants to go into the Beyond to talk to Mark. Once they're in the Beyond, Mark makes his move by possessing Damien's body while trapping him and Celine inside his own empty shell. Mark knew that Damien and Celine might make an attempt to escape into Celine's body, which is why he guides us to the groundskeeper during our session with Celine, knowing that he could stop them, leaving them trapped in limbo. This is where Mark's plan is finalized and he thinks he's home free, which is why the butler and chef take off. However, what he did not predict was that the Colonel would try to kill both us and the detective. All of a sudden there was a new death, a new body for Celine and Damien to escape to. When Damien and Celine offered to bring us back from the Beyond, I believe they were conspiring against us. They didn't want us in there with them. It is possible that Celine had a kinder intent than Damien, however Damien has a dark past and only wants revenge at this point. He plans to kick us out of our own body at the first chance he gets. When we wake up, we are greeted by the broken Colonel. Shooting both us and the detective twisted his mind. This is the birth of Wilford Wharfstache. When we pick up the cane, Damien kicks us out, trapping us in eternal limbo. The two spirits inside our body are Celine and Damien, signified by the trademark blue and red Darkiplier colors. So how did Mark die? This is just speculation, but the Colonel mentions that Mark can't hold his liquor.
Oh, glug glug, oopsie poopsie, I can't hold my booze.
And the butler says that there is no mystery and shows us a broken wine bottle in the cellar. Mark drank himself to death. The detective saying,
In addition to being stabbed 37 times, he was also poisoned, beaten, strangled, drowned, and shot, in that order.
It's just a distraction seeing as he was working with Mark. The detective is also the one who moved the body following Mark's instructions. The final thing I want to bring up is a little audio clip from after the credits.
Colonel, you can hear this. You better run.
This is the detective who realizes that the Colonel ruined Mark's plan and is now out for his life. In conclusion, Mark drank himself to death and escaped to Damien's body to put an end to Damien's evil schemes. He planned for the groundskeeper to stop Damien and Celine from returning into her body. Celine and Damien steal our body to become Darkiplier whilst we are stuck in limbo. And Mark believes he is home free in Damien's body.
And with that, it's time to round up this video. First of all, I'd like to give a huge thank you to Rustybean for letting me use her amazing artwork for this project. If you want to see more of her art, then I provided a link in the description below. Second of all, I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for watching this. If you want to see more or have any questions or other theories, then just comment. And, you know, the subscribe button is just a click away. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next episode.